are listening to the Solar Panel, the Phoenix Suns Show.
Good morning and welcome to a live Saturday morning edition of the Suns Solar Panel. Folks, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate having you on here. If you're watching this later and it's not live anymore, that's totally fine. But if you were here during the live show, you get to participate in the show by whatever comments you've got. The best comments we'll share on the screen, and we'll talk about some of the comments as well throughout the show. We've got a big, huge solar panel going today. We are previewing the Suns versus Dallas Mavericks playoff series with my regular partner in crime. My regular Saturday partner is Brandon, otherwise known as Zona Hoops, very popular, famous on Suns Twitter and all that. Zona, how you doing today?
Good. I want to say famous, but I'll take it.
Well,
yeah,
within our realm, you know, everyone knows Zona.
True.
Hoops.
Yeah. But no, doing well. Happy to survive in advance from a very let's call it sloppy series, but fun to see Chris Paul go point guard mode and 14 for 14. Never happened before. I don't know if that's going to happen again, but yeah, doing well.
Yeah, absolutely. Also joining us is Flex. Now, Flex, we're going to give you a chance to flex during this episode a little bit. We're going to go on a little bit of that. But to basically, Flex is here as a helper on previewing Suns Mavs and recapping Suns Pelicans a little bit. Welcome to the show today, Flex.
Thank you, man. Pleasure to be back, man. Always a blast to get in with y'all, man. So I missed you last week, Zona, man. Appreciate being with you this week.
Yeah, it was a good show.
We had Coach Paul and Founder on last week, and then I saw him and met him for Game 5, Suns against Pelicans.
Oh, that's dope.
Good to meet you, man, and hope you come back out here sometime. All right, fourth member of our panel today is somebody you all have not met before. His name is Kirk Henderson. I've known him online for a very long time as a major contributor on Mavs Moneyball. Kirk has been great. He is going to help us preview the Mavericks series and tell us what's going on with the Mavs, because we've seen about 2, maybe 3 iterations of the Mavs during the season. The Suns fans have not seen the latest iteration, so we need some help understanding what we're getting in this Mavericks team. How you doing, Kirk?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So first thing we're going to do, welcome everybody in our chat. We've got dozens upon dozens of people in the chat right now. Good morning, Coach Fallen Founder. Good morning, William. Good morning, Buck Dog. All the regulars. Good morning, Jam. You guys are here. I appreciate you, and we are going to share your best comments. So, game 1. Okay, Jam's going to be at game 1. Maybe we'll run into each other. Row 7, section 117. Good job, man. That's going to be fun. All right, so first let's recap Suns versus Pelicans. Let's get us all caught up, making sure we're all on the same page. The Phoenix Suns won the series against the Pelicans 4-2. They closed out the last 2 games after losing a very frustrating game 4 in New Orleans. And I want to hear what overall, well, let me just real quick. CP3 goes into God mode. He's made 14 out of 14. First player in any situation, playoffs, regular season, whatever it was, to go perfect from the field with as many shot attempts, 14 out of 14, as Chris Paul did in Game 6 in New Orleans to close out that series. That was the God mode. Zona, what's your takeaway from that series?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine why it didn't get more coverage than it did, because it's something that's literally never happened before. Maybe the NFL draft, maybe people just hate Chris Paul too much. I don't know what it is, but I think that performance is just kind of his last 3 closeout games too have been like unreal. So just got to give the guy credit at this age, doing what he's done. Yeah, as exhausted as he was, according to Reggie Miller, all series long. But yeah, it was just a special performance, and hopefully he can carry that momentum over into this next series.
Absolutely. Flex, what are you thinking about Chris Paul?
Yeah, I'm thinking if you're his former team and it's Game 6 and it's a closeout, you're in trouble. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, he did it last year to the Clippers, Game 6. I fully
Game
expected
4 to
him.
the Nuggets as well.
Yeah, but he killed Game 4, and then again to close out in LA, right? Former team and
Yep.
went bananas and did it again this year. So I wasn't surprised. I mean, I didn't expect 14 for 14, all-time NBA performance. But he's the point guard, man. So I felt Chris was going to be alleviated or a little bit fresher in Game 6 because of that man Devin Booker just being on the court and having that gravity. I felt like I saw the old Phoenix Suns basketball team that we've been missing for a little while, and it just it speaks volumes as to how much Devin Booker means to his team. So felt good to see it. Took a little longer than expected. Went through a little bit of roller coaster. Couple scares, but we're out of it, man. And the Pelicans were very, very tough matchup, guys. Very tough matchup.
Monty Williams said that was definitely not an 8th seed the way they were playing, as good as they had been. They were above 500 finishing out the season with their team as it was. I think they came into the series like 10-2 with Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum in the same lineup the last 12 games they played together. So they did well. Kirk, I'm going to put you on the spot. I didn't ask you ahead of time, but did you watch any of the Suns versus Pelicans, and what was your takeaway?
Oh, I absolutely watched the fourth quarters because I very much wanted that series to go to 7 games because a tired Chris Paul makes me happy. But it was really like after the previous game, we struggled a little bit. Just coming out and doing something like that, and then it's wild to watch in real time because if you're not paying attention, all of a sudden, the other guys who had hit like a series of consecutive shots, it's like Chris Paul and then some really random people like Tony Snell hit 8 shots in a row, but it's like Chris Paul and then everyone else. He's so far ahead on that really random and kind of incredible statistic.
Well, and that's random. So I wish I
Tony Allen
kept
too
it here
was on that list.
Yeah, Tony Allen, Tony Snell. I mean, Chris Paul was the only number 1 option on that entire thing. I loved Devin Booker's comments after the game when Chris Paul went 14 for 14. He looked down. He goes, "I will never have a stat line like that because I will take heat check shots all game long." And Chris Paul's like, "Yep, from the opposite free throw line, he'll be taking shots to see if he can miss." So yeah, it's just wild that a number 1 option can do that. So the Suns, a couple of takeaways from the first round. Yes, it was much harder than people expected. Suns versus Pelicans. On part of that is the Pelicans with their matchup issues, the things that Coach Willie Green exploited against the Suns. They're tough to repeat. I mean, that you can certainly try. I'm sure the Mavericks will be watching film for how the Pelicans made life hard on the Suns, but the Mavericks don't have quite the same personnel. We'll talk about that. They have better in some ways and not quite the same in others. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But one takeaway is when Devin Booker finished a game, the Suns were 2-0 in that series, and they had their regular plus their net rating of +8. So it's the middle games when they were without Devin Booker, they're much more beatable. Now, I want to use that to transition over to the Mavericks first round series and give Kurt some time to talk here. The Mavericks, they also won 6 games. They beat the Utah Jazz, the 5th seed. 4th seed Mavericks beat the 5th seed Jazz. The Mavericks had issues with their top player. Luka Doncic did not play the first 3 games, I believe. And the Mavericks did win 2 of those. And then he played the last 3 games, and the Mavericks won 2 out of 3 there as well. So, Kirk, tell us what you saw from the Mavericks in their first round series.
I mean, it was really 2 different series wrapped into one because the first 3 games without Luka were really interesting because the Jazz had every opportunity to beat the Mavericks and just couldn't do it. Jalen Brunson lost his mind. Mountain Time Monta Ellis and Donovan Mitchell was utterly exposed in this series as somebody who just doesn't want to play defense.
Mountain Time Monta Ellis? I love that.
Few players, because he's amazing with the media. After the game, he would often use the phrase we have to play better defense. And it's like the Uncle Phil meme where it's like, no, you have to play better defense. So it's, a lot of the national commentary is how the Jazz lost, and rightfully so. But the Mavericks really got a lot out of their role players until Luka Doncic came back. They probably should have won game 4, but Luka always looks strange after missing time. He forced a lot in the fourth quarter of that game. They lost by 1. And then the next 2 games, they just sort of ground out. Game 6, they got extremely lucky with Bojan Bogdanovic missing a wide open play. And then they walked out, and hopefully they'll get a little bit of rest, because if you look at any of the series statistics, Reggie Bullock and Dorian Finney-Smith basically played 45 minutes a game. Mm-hmm. And they're tired. So,
both teams get 3 full days off before the first game of round 2 on Monday night in Phoenix at 7 p.m. Arizona time. Mountain Time, Monte Ellis. I'm never going to forget that. I absolutely love that. I know you guys probably have been talking about that a long time, but that was the first I heard that. That was freaking awesome.
Yeah. The Jazz just need to blow it up. They need to break it up. It's not going to work like that. I thought they
really
should have last offseason. It's just they're stuck.
Who would have thought
the hunting
that important?
The hunting of Rudy Gobert by Dallas in that series, especially, and I don't know. So I want to hear a little bit more from you on the dynamics of when Jalen Brunson was the lead dog in the first 3 games versus Luka Doncic as the lead dog in the last 3 games. Jalen Brunson was just cooking those guys. The Jazz, they were all spreading the floor, and he'd drive in and he'd basically force anybody and everybody to get eaten up on his middies with everyone else staying behind the line. Tell me about the difference in the schemes for the Mavericks, and what you like about, obviously Luka's healthy for the next series, so it's going to be all Luka on that. What do you think about Jalen Brunson's role, and can he be as good as he could have been in the first 3 games?
So one of the things I saw was that they basically run the same stuff that they run with Luka, only he and Luka are very different players. Spencer Dinwiddie sometimes gets in this action too. So it's forcing teams to kind of guard 3 guys that do different things, playing the same style. And it can be a little off-putting because they're 3 very different body types, very different skill sets. Brunson in particular is interesting because he and the Mavs like themselves argue with this, but I think Brunson still struggles with length. At the end of the day, he's still 6'1". He's very strong. He's very patient. He has some incredible dance moves on the floor, but he's still shorter. And so the Jazz were so terrible defensively, which made, like, making fun of Mitchell is important, but the man has a 6'9" wingspan and just didn't use it. And so I'm going to be very interested to see if Brunson can be a similar kind of effective against the Suns, which just have a lot more length. The Clippers shut Brunson out the previous postseason. It was his first one because he missed the bubble due to a shoulder injury. And so this is going to be a true test for Brunson because he made a lot of money with the Jazz, and now he has, I don't want to say he's an opportunity to lose it, but if the Suns, blot him out, it's going to be interesting to see what happens next.
Yeah. Zona, what do you think about the Jalen Brunson role?
Yeah, I mean, like you just said, he was terrific. He earned himself a bag this offseason, but I think the Suns, the main key, I think, outside of Luka's going to get his. We already know that. But if you can just, cut off the hose to the rest of the team, just, stop the supply there with, like, Brunson, Dinwiddie, their shooters, close out on them, make like life very tough on them, then I think that's where the Mavs could struggle. Just shutting down the role players. That's the key to this series, I think. Like I said, Luka's going to get his, but if you can really just make it difficult on those guards that played very well against the Utah team that struggles to defend, I think the Suns, that should be the major key for them moving forward in this series.
Flex, what's your take on this?
Yeah, man, listen, I agree with Kirk, man. Guys, looking at guys like Finney-Smith and Reggie Bullock, I mean, they had to play a lot of minutes. Finney-Smith had 46 minutes the last game. Reggie had 44. You look at it as basically a 7-man rotation. On paper, it looks like a 9-man rotation, but it's actually on paper in the box. That baseball thing, right? Everything in the box score is a line drive, right? Every hit in the box score. This says 9 guys, but it's actually 7. And so that's a lot of minutes to put on these guys. And so I look at that and I say, this reminds me a lot of the Clipper series, guys, the Suns last year. And what I mean by that is I look at Luka and I look at Brunson, And I say they're going to probably give us a lot of the same issues we had with Paul George and Reggie Jackson last year. It's similar dynamics. I mean, Luka is that good. So Luka's going to get his, a lot like PG did. And I don't think we're going to shut Brunson down. He's too much of a good basketball player. So I do expect him to have a good series. But again, like Zona said, I think it's how much you control the Finney Smiths, the Reggie Bullocks, the Dinwiddies, Maxi Kleber from getting loose in the corners. And they were trying, man, they really exposed Gobert and that whole Utah system. I just don't think you're going to be able to get away with that with the Suns and how they play defense and how much of a different animal DeAndre is as opposed to what Rudy can do on both ends. So I think it's going to be tough. I mean, listen, this is a good Mavericks team, but I think the Suns and the Mavericks matchup is entirely different than what both teams saw in the first round. So it's going to be a little bit of a different fight. You know, styles make fights. This is going to be one of those things that we're going to look at and be like, okay, this was more of a matchup thing.
Let's talk about health a little bit. So Luka Doncic came back for the last few games of that series against the Jazz. Is Luka fully healthy?
Luka is Rob Gronkowski, where you never really know. You never really know how healthy he is because you watch him in the game and little things he'll act like he was shot. And then big things he gets up like it's no big deal. It's very even when he walked off the floor, I didn't think he would miss that much time. So I think he's as healthy as he's going to be. It's his left calf that was strained and all of his really spectacular motions come off that left foot plant.
Yeah.
He's gotten off he took some terrible shots that happened to go down against Utah in Game 6. So it's that's sort of the Luka experience where it's the good ones where he's wide open, he bricks, and then he makes these incredible shots, and it's sure. So I think he's as healthy as he can be.
Okay. On the other side, Devin Booker was out for 3.5 of the 6 games against the Pelicans, and I think there was a guy who knew about Booker's health before anybody else did. And I'd like to give that guy, who was a guest on our show today, a chance to explain, A, why you're not making things up, B, why you're not sitting in your mom's basement imagining the best of both worlds and what's so awesome about, if I knew Devin Booker or his family or anything like that, what it would be like to have inside information. Tell us, where does Flex from Jersey come from?
Man, listen, it's we talked about this, Dave, man. I hate that side of the business because it just infuriates me. But listen, man, I wish some of these people were right, because that would mean that I should go down to the corner store and put some numbers in and probably won't have to be sitting here talking to y'all. I'd probably be sitting on an island somewhere with $500 million if I could predict things like that easy. Right. So at the end of the day, listen, guys, I got my connections. I got my sources. I've said this a million times, Dave. We've talked about this. Mm-hmm. And
people don't believe you actually have sources. They think you're just making it up, Lex.
Yeah, it's funny stuff, man. It's funny stuff. It's relevant. This Suns Twitter stuff is a lot like MVP voting. The criteria is always changing, like Book said. They always moving the goalposts. So you can be right 10 times and you can be off one time, and all of a sudden you're a fraud. So it's crazy, but yeah, you can believe what you want, Dave. Right? They can believe what they want. You know what's up. You know what I mean? You know what's up. I don't have to prove anything to anyone that I respect. You know what I mean? The people I respect and the people I know and the people that know me know that I'm not in my mom's basement tweeting some stuff out and hoping I get likes and trying to predict things. And so if y'all want to talk about Book and y'all want to talk about how he's feeling, we can do that. You want to?
Yeah. So let's give a quick recap. Let me give a quick recap.
Yeah.
So you don't have to recap your own breaking news, but Flex was the first to know Devin Booker's status from his hamstring recovery after they did the MRI and all that. He's the one who explained to us it'll be less than the 2 to 3 weeks that Brian Windhorst was predicting after doing a quick Google search. And Flex said 10 to 14 days, might even be back. He's day to day. Last Saturday on this show, Flex said Booker would play anytime the Suns actually need him, and he was feeling a lot better, and that if the Suns were down, he'd be able to play. And if the Suns really needed it, he'd be able to play. And this was a week ago. And you also said that the same similar hamstring injury is what Booker played through in the NBA Finals a year ago.
Yeah.
And 2 of those games, he scored 40+ points.
Yeah.
So Booker Booker is not somebody who sits out from injuries unless it's regular season. He also answered when somebody asked, "What's your timeline for recovery on hamstrings?" And Booker says, "Well, it depends. Is it playoffs or is it regular season?"
Right. Right.
But anyway, Booker came back. Flex predicted it. People dunked all over Flex, saying you're making stuff up. 24 hours later, exactly as Flex predicted, it actually happened. Devin Booker came off the out injured list and onto suddenly available to play 30 minutes and played on Thursday night. And things were much, much easier for Chris Paul at that point. So Flex, how's Devin Booker feeling after game 6? Is he still getting better? Did he retweak anything? Is there any updates?
Yeah, Book's feeling fantastic. So let me just give you a quick recap. Book could have played game 5. Okay, that was a fact. He actually wanted to play game 5 and was convinced by his teammates and the team to not do that because the team felt confident about what they can do and give him an extra day. So he could have played game 5, wanted to play game 5, chose to take the route of trusting his team. They won game 5. And then that's where you realize Devin Booker's back, right? That's where he's like, okay, I gave y'all one. Y'all did y'all job. I'm back. Let's go black shades in the conference, close out Book, right? But he's feeling great. He went in there with a game plan. He had a minute restriction from the very jump. We saw Monty handle that, and Book went over his minutes a little bit. But listen, Book is feeling better. Let me tell you this: Book is feeling better than he did pre-injury, and that's something a lot of people don't realize. Book, this rest was good for Book. He was actually already feeling some things in that hamstring and around that lower back area before the injury happened. And, that's everybody in the playoffs is going through something, right? Everybody at this time of year is dealing with hurt, low nicks and knacks and stuff. So, it's ended up being a blessing in disguise. My contacts, my sources have told me that Devin's feeling great. He's getting better by the day. And he actually went into that game 6 feeling better than he did the day he got hurt, which is something to think about. But I also think that he was cautious in this game 6. He played a perfect basketball game. He knew what they wanted him to do. He knew that he didn't want to overexert anything, and he knows that this is a marathon, not a sprint. And so it's not smart to go out there and try to be closeout Book. Go out there and be smart, educated, methodical Book, and trust your team, and they'll get it done. So he's doing great, man. I got no issues or concerns with Devin Booker going into round 2.
Yeah. So did anyone notice, Thomas Herndon asked in the chat, did anyone notice how Book's return seemed to pep up CP3? CP3 had some good fourth quarters earlier in the series, but he definitely looked fresher the entire game. And a big reason for that is that the Pelicans couldn't just load up on CP3 anymore. They had to defend Booker, regardless of how big of a role Booker was going to take. This is the dude who scored 31 points in the first half against them last Tuesday before pulling that hamstring enough to sit out. So definitely. And eventually the Pelicans forgot it because Chris Paul was so damn good. They forgot about Devin Booker for that game deciding 3-pointer as well. So definitely it is it's definitely easier for CP3. And he said it after that game 6, that it's so much easier to have Devin Booker on the floor next to him than not, for sure. Okay, so that is the Devin Booker update. Thank you for that. We got Kirk Henderson. Luka is as healthy as he's going to get. He's like Rob Gronkowski. You don't know how healthy he is, but he still plays the same. He still does well in the games when he's in there. Suns fans, maybe it's just me, get frustrated when Luka limps on one play down the court and then does some incredible move as soon as he's got the ball in his hands. But that's just, everybody does that, I guess. Maybe I'm just over focused on Luka, but he's healthy. He'll be fine. And if he squints, as Kirk says, sometimes it looks like he got shot, but then he's totally fine the next time down. Other times he's more hurt than he lets on. So you just got to trust that everyone's healthy. Are there any other injuries to worry about, Kirk, from your side?
I mean, technically, like half the Mavs fan base seems to think that Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to come back from that. He has that broken bone in his foot, Des Bryant, and he's still like a month away at least. So the real challenge is like what we mentioned earlier, is that Dallas has like 6.5 guys that they play. So if any one of those guys gets hurt, this goes from being like a fun, punchy series to ugly.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So you've only got that as an injury issue. For the Suns, there's nobody else listed on the injury report besides Dario Saric, who hasn't played in a year anyway. So that'll be interesting. What other thoughts do you have? Okay. So what are matchups we like and matchups we don't? Zona, why don't you give your thoughts on matchups for the Suns that you like and matchups you don't like?
So I think the Suns do a great job of bothering and disturbing Luka, in the sense that, a lot of teams like throw different looks at him, but they can't really execute it to disrupt his flow. I think the Suns have the personnel, not only with the size and length, but just the switchability. I think Mikal and DeAndre do a great job when the Mavs like hunt for those pick and rolls. So that's one thing I like in terms of just, like I said earlier, Luka's going to get his, but if you could just make him uncomfortable, and it kind of reminds me of like that LeBron meme when Kawhi Leonard checks in the finals back in the day. Whenever Mikal's on Luka, it feels like that same annoyance is there with him, just kind of the eye roll, like, oh, really have to deal with this guy again. Picking him up full court, just doing the little things to bug him. I think it's one thing I think the Suns can try to do, is just really try to pester away at him and just really make Brunson and Dinwiddie just be the engines of the offense and go through those two. So I think any way you can make Luka's life miserable, the better.
Kirk, what's a matchup you like and a matchup you don't like?
So a lot of Mavs fans and other podcasts that I've been listening to seem to think that the Suns will put Brunson in jail with his former teammate Mikal Bridges. So I'm going to be interested to see how much time he spends on him. One of the matchups I'm looking at is former Dallas Mavericks draft pick Jay Crowder versus the Rim. In the sense of all of us who have watched Jay have seen him.
You like that matchup?
Well, I've seen, he the last season he was with the Mavericks in a final preseason game, he hit 6 threes against the Suns, and then didn't hit a three against the Rockets, excuse me, and then didn't hit a three until he was traded, I feel like. And then he was incandescent with the Celtics for like half the year. And he's done that at times where it's like his 3-point shooting, because the Mavericks will really try to take away areas which the Suns don't mind. So at the rim and then 3-point shots. And so it's, if Jay gets some open looks, that's going to be, if he's hitting this might be grand opening, grand closing before we get very far into the series, because the Suns have so many options offensively to where if the Mavericks are lucky with how they're scheming and they force Jay to get open shots, and if he doesn't hit them, then things get a little more interesting. Otherwise, I'm looking forward to seeing who matches up on book, whether it's Dorian Finney-Smith, which I sort of think is the most likely option, but Reggie Bullock is another fun one. Mm-hmm. Bullock is probably my favorite Mavericks defender. I like Dorian, but I think he's more of a chaos agent than a one-on-one stopper. And so those are the ones I'm looking for. The Luka stuff is always interesting. We'll probably talk more about that in a minute, but Mikal Bridges and Luka, like, they've just had some absolute battles. Bridges is probably the last defender past Kawhi Leonard who can really bother Luka, because strength doesn't bother Luka. Length does, because it's just getting in his wingspan. And I mean, what's Bridges' wingspan? Isn't it like 7'1", 7'2"?
Yeah.
Like, there's just a lot of
7'1", yeah.
Yeah, just it's incredible watching those two play one another. And just while I'm here, you didn't ask me this, but I looked this up. The last time the Suns beat the Mavericks, we were still 3 months away from the first COVID case happening in the United States. Last time the
Mavericks beat the Suns, or Suns?
Yeah, sorry, Mavericks beat the Suns. Was November of 2019. So it's been a while. it's been a while. It really something. So sorry.
No, that's okay. Let's talk about Jay Crowder for a sec, because what we did not recap from that Pelicans series is a great storyline for Jay Crowder. You talked about how Mavs fans have a love-hate relationship memory of Jay Crowder as their teammate. Well, Jay Crowder has love-hate relationships with everybody in the league. And the Pelicans fans, some fans made Jay Crowder t-shirts for Game 6 in New Orleans, and Devin Booker had Suns assistant coach Jarrett Jack Coach Jarrett Jack run up into the stands way pregame and warm up time and grab a couple of this big stack of FJ Crowder t-shirts. And then, so that he and Jay Crowder could have some for posterity. And now Jay Crowder has his own version of that t-shirt on his website signed by Jay Crowder. So the FJ Crowder, and what was great is that we didn't realize this while we were watching the game. It's a road game. I'm sitting at home with the family. We're watching. We're like, what is the crowd chanting? 20,000 people were chanting FJ Crowder. It is just unbelievable. So we all have a love-hate relationship with Jay Crowder. He has not hit a 3 all season, I feel like. Certainly hasn't hit any in the he hit 1 maybe in the playoffs, maybe 2, but I think his foot was on the line for one of those. So if he starts making 3s again, we are all going to be like, oh my God, because he's certainly going to take them anytime he's given them. That's for sure. And so that's a matchup. Yes, Jay Crowder versus the rim. I like that one because that one's one that the Suns fans are not excited about watching for sure. Flex, what's a matchup you like and a matchup you don't like?
Man, I'm sticking to the main event, man. I'm not gonna tiptoe around this. The main event's Luka and Mikal. That's the main event, and that's the one I like because Luka's so dynamic, man. Luka's special, and so there aren't too many people on planet Earth that you can say I'm going to put on Luka Doncic and kind of feel good about it. Mm-hmm. And Mikal's one of those guys. I mean, that's just the fact of it. Are they gonna take turns? Absolutely. Luka's gonna get him, and he's gonna get some of Luka. But I think that's the main event, and that's gonna be what I'm looking forward to. The fact that we actually have a basketball player that I can put on Luka Doncic for a 7-game series, and feel like I'm gonna give Luka everything he can take in every possession. So that's the one I'm looking forward to. I tell you what. I'm looking at the Mavericks, and I'm I think Jalen Brunson. I agree with Kirk. I don't subscribe to this. Jalen Brunson is gonna get clamped in this series. I actually think the contrary. I think we're gonna throw so much attention at Luka that Jalen Brunson is gonna get a lot of clean looks or cleaner looks, and so I think it's gonna be one of your pick your poison things. But matchup I don't like, and Kirk, I don't know. You tell me because you're the Mavericks guy. But when I watch the Mavericks. There's a certain guy that kind of when I'm watching you guys play and I'm watching tape on y'all, when this guy's going, it changes the dynamic of your team, and it's Maxi Kleber. When I could be wrong, but
you are. It's horrifying because
what I mean by that is when he's going, you guys seem to flow, but when he's not, it's like, so am I seeing something that I'm not seeing? I mean,
you're 100% correct. On offense, if he's a stretch 5 who occasionally loses the ability to stretch for, and it's really drastic. Where in the month of March he shot 17% from 3. In game 2 against the Utah Jazz, he hit 8 threes.
Yes,
he hit 9 in the month of March. So it's really like the contrasts are really kind of incredible because he's very important to their scheme defensively. He's basically the only big man who can play anything close to rim defense. So they keep him out there kind of regardless. But it's the difference between their offense laboring and their offense humming.
Right. That's
so we got a Maxi Crowder series going, right? Whoever makes the most threes wins the series.
I mean, either way, it will upset me because when Maxi takes shots, you'll watch this. Just look for it. You can see he doesn't want to take it right now. He hit a bunch of the threes in the first 2 games, and he just went away. And when the shots are off, the shots are like the ones that hit the back of the rim and give you that like dead cat bounce sound.
Right. Yeah, he was 1 for 5 the other night, and I mean, he played like 23 minutes. And the reason why I keep looking at Maxi when I look at the tape is when he's in the game, I don't like if he's hitting his shot. I don't like that matchup against Suns backup centers whenever DA's not in the game.
Oh yeah, no, JaVale's going to leave him open. JaVale's going to do worse than Rudy Gobert.
And you know what the problem is? You know what the problem is with me on this take, Kurt, is that people that tend to miss every shot, they make them against the Suns. I'm telling you, I'm telling you, man, they make them against the Suns. I mean, I watch tape on some of these Pelican players, And I'm like, hold on, man, hold on. Like, are y'all just picking on the Suns? Cause there were certain guys that couldn't make a damn shot. They couldn't throw the ball in the ocean against the Clippers and some of these other games. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, these guys aren't traditional shooters, but damn, they're just going in versus Suns. And it seems like that all the time. So I'm looking at Maxi Kleber like, watch out for that guy, because that's the guy that's not supposed to make shots, and he's probably going to make shots.
It's going to make a difference in this series. Hey, Kirk, we're at 35 minutes right now. I want to let you go really, really soon so you don't get in the doghouse at home. But I do have one more question. I believe this is a Mavs fan, John Curian, in the chat. He's making some good points. He definitely is making some good points in the chat. For those of you who are on YouTube, definitely check those out. But he did say y'all don't watch Mavs games if you think Luka doesn't play defense. I guarantee you 90% of Suns fans, if not 99%, think Luka doesn't play defense. So tell us what's behind this. Has he gotten better this year? What does he do on defense? What's he good at and not good at?
Well, smart teams target. The Jazz targeted him like nobody's business, just over and over and over again, and it held up reasonably well. It's a focus thing for Luka, as for many things with 23-year-old men. He's very strong. He's very smart. He needs to pay more attention. If he doesn't have the quickest feet, and may never have the quickest feet, but his anticipation is there. He's played better. He's no longer, the Trae Young thing. Like, Trae Young gets targeted because he's 6 foot tall and also unaware. Luka at least offers some resistance. I think who he guards and who he plays against, watch his closeouts. You can tell he's focused on if he's closing out lazily, because he does the YMCA 5th game in a row, like shoulder slump chart.
Just throwing the arm.
He's just such a demonstrative player. You can really tell where his focus is. I do think he loves playing against the Suns. And so I think that, but it's a matter of whether he knows when to go and knows when to really, involve his teammates. It's a tough balancing act for him. Defensively, though, I think they have schemed to the point. I've watched this team for years, and it's the same. It's basically the same team they had last year, only they went from being a 17th ranked defense to being like a top 6 to top 2 at some point defense. And Luka's on the floor for enough of those minutes. So they've done something right. Like they occasionally they'll do the thing that teams have done with James Harden, which is like basically play a zone where he covers an area of the floor. But I don't think they're going to be able to do that against the Suns. I don't know. I think if his man goes off, then that's kind of the series. I'm going to be very interested to see who they put him on, and then if the Suns really target him, which I suspect they will. Book.
Yeah. How is he good? I really feel like the Suns have been they did a lot of targeting against the Pelicans just because especially without Booker in there, they needed to get every advantage they could because the Pelicans are playing out of their minds. And I feel like they're going to target whoever they can on the Mavericks, and it could be it'll definitely be CP3 trying to get those switches. So we'll see how it goes in there. Thank you so much for joining us, Kirk. Tell us where we can find you around the world.
I tweet like an idiot at Kirk Serious Face. I still tweet like a drunk guy at a bar. It's how I watch games. All of our work is at Mavs Moneyball. We've been doing we have a lot of good kind of like game analysis style writers there. I've really liked the work our team's done. I do a lot of podcasting at the Mavs Moneyball podcast feeds. And then one of the things I do, if the Mavs happen to lose to the Suns on Spotify Green Room, I host Mavs group therapies where like 200 or 300 of us get in there and cry and complain about everything that happened. And if you labor if you enjoy the tears of other fans, that's a great place to hop in and harass me. So yeah, thanks guys.
Hey, thank you for coming on. We want to have you on again.
Sure.
Quick. Oh, one last thing. What's your prediction? Games 1 and 2. Well, 1, 2, and 3, because we'll be back next Saturday.
I think that the Mavericks will steal 1. And whether it's game 2 or game 3, that would be my prediction. But the Suns are just too good. Like this is, it's frustrating.
All right,
Kirk, you were great, man. Nice meeting you, brother.
Yeah, you as well. Have fun.
We're great. We'll have you on again, man. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
See you.
All right, that was great. That was Kirk Henderson at Kirk Serious Face on Twitter. Great guest. I do feel like the Suns should be up 2-1 after 3 games as well, but we'll do our predictions officially at the end of the show. Now I want us to switch to basically just to wrap up thoughts. Zona, you put a couple more notes in the second quarter section here. Give us your storylines section there, Zona.
I mean, there's a lot of ties to these teams, obviously, with Igor, being the former coach. Now he's an assistant for Dallas. The whole Luka DeAndre thing, Jason Kidd, former Sun, the Brunson Bridges Villanova ties. So there's a lot of unique storylines in this matchup that I don't think either the teams are really focused on that kind of thing. They're more worried about matchups, but just as a fan, it's just always cool to see these storylines leading up to and hyping up these matchups. So, yeah, Brunson Bridges will be interesting because I know those two in the past, they've always kind of chirped at each other throughout games. So just that competitive edge, just, being brothers at Villanova. So, that would be a fun one to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Any other big storylines from you, Flex?
No, I mean, this is the most healthiest this team has been in a little while. So the break is going to be good. I think they'll be ready to go Monday. And complete people, please just stop with the Chris Paul thing, man. I mean, let's just stop with the Chris Paul thing, man. Everyone is dealing with something. No. I keep hearing people say, man, Chris Paul's got some injury. He's hiding. Like, guys, listen, Chris Paul's fine, man. Like, every player on this team is dealing with something. Now, if the playoffs is over and Chris Paul comes out and says, yeah, I jammed my finger in game 2 versus are we going to have this? Oh, yeah, I told you he was dealing with something. Come on, man. Let's stop it. Chris Paul's good. Let's stop looking at things that aren't
if you can make 14 out of 14 shots in game 6, you're good enough to be your best, whether you're hurt in some way or not. I think what happened to Chris Paul in the Pelicans series is, I mean, at his age, he may not be great for 6 consecutive games. He may have some days where he just doesn't feel as well as others, just health-wise, just body recovery wise. But what really hurt him was that the Pelicans were able to just load up on him. And Willie Green, as much as they are excellent friends, Willie Green knows what Chris Paul doesn't do well against and has to work even harder against than usual. Willie Green is basically the worst possible opposing coach for Chris Paul to have, one of the worst anyway. So they did everything they could to really make Chris Paul's life hard.
Yeah.
And I don't see the Mavs doing the same. I just don't see the Mavs doing that at all. I mean, Dorian Finney-Smith is a good defender, very good defender, but and then Reggie Bullock is okay, but they don't have the Jose Alvarado type defender. Jalen Brunson's not that. They don't have Herb Jones was really, really good, but once Devin Booker got back out there, Herb Jones was less of a factor because he wasn't able to focus on just the one guy.
Can't tee up on one guy, right?
Right.
Yeah, the Pelicans defense, I think. Sorry, I was just going to say, I think the Pelicans, they try to bother you. They play kind of chaotic, and I think that got in the Suns' head, whereas the Mavs, their defense is going to be totally different. They're more like, we're not going to beat ourselves. Like, we're just going to give you what we want. And I think the Suns would do a better job of taking advantage of that than just the chaos that the Pelicans threw at the Suns, especially without Booker. That really changed the whole dynamic of the series, obviously.
Yeah, and we'll get into this during the series, but for me, the biggest look, there's a lot of Luka's still a better player, best player out of the 2018 draft. Agreed. Okay, agreed. Luka's the best player of the 2018 draft. Trae Young may be the second best player out of the 2018 draft. Agreed. But they're not the best guy to get you to a championship. And the reason I say that, and this is just my opinion, I get it. If you love Luka Doncic or James Harden or guys like that who are heliocentric, Trae Young, who control you, when you watch Chris Paul, you see the difference between those guys and a Chris Paul, because those guys, Luka, James Harden, Trae Young, they're so focused on doing everything that a defense can load up on them and they lose sight of their teammates. They're trying so hard to win the play. Just watching Game 6 against Utah the other night. Jalen Brunson has been excellent against Utah the entire series. He barely touched the ball in the last 5 minutes of the fourth
Yeah.
quarter. Luka took
Yeah.
a ton of weird ass shots.
Yeah. Almost blow that
And
game.
the Jazz
Almost blew
should
that
have
game.
won.
Yeah. Almost
They
blew
had
that
2
game.
chances to win
Yeah.
that game.
Luka took 2 of the worst shots. I mean, it just 2 step back, fade away, 30-foot shots.
Yeah.
And he almost blew that game.
And the reason I don't say Ayton is a better player at all than those guys, but I think with Ayton, you don't try to make it all about Ayton. I also think you're more likely to win a championship with Ayton than Joel Embiid, but that's, again, just my opinion.
Let me ask you
because
something,
Joel
Dave.
Embiid is so heliocentric on having the ball all the time.
Let me ask you something, Dave. You just mentioned something about Joel Embiid. Will you say that Luka Doncic is a better player? I mean, honestly, I'm keeping it 100. Luka Doncic is a better player than Joel Embiid. And this is what I mean by this. Basketball player, skill, of course he is. He's a guard that handles the ball, and Joel Embiid's a big. So I hate the Luka Ayton thing. I mean, Luka, of course, is a better basketball player, but they're 2 entirely dynamic, different type of basketball. It's like putting the best lightweight in the world against the best heavyweight in the world and saying who's the best fighter. Like, that's just not fair. You just can't do that.
Right.
Of course, the light guy
just put in here. Luka will get you to the finals. Ayton is just a role player. Okay, A, Ayton is better than a role player, but
Come
B,
on,
Luka has won 1 playoff series in 3 chances.
Come on, man.
No,
it's the opposite. Luka's the better player. He's a better skilled basketball player, man. But DeAndre Ayton, for what we're asking him to do, is a top 3 guy in the league at what we're asking him to do. There's not too many centers in basketball that I want more than DeAndre Ayton to do what the Phoenix Suns need him to do. And that's what we want. That's what we're asking him to do. And let's not trip, man. DeAndre's been absolutely phenomenal offensively in this first round, guys.
20 points a game on 68% shooting.
And he did some of that without Book. He said, you know what? I'm good enough to carry y'all in some of this stuff. So yeah, I'm getting agitated, right? So I'm sorry, guys. Let me get back to myself.
Yeah. Hey, Long John Silver 85, who just rejoined as a member. Thank you so much, buddy. Appreciate you. Flex, what is your donation prediction after this series? Now, tell us about your donation, first of all, how you came up with it, and then make your prediction for this series.
Okay, so yeah, man. So it was Easter Sunday, and the Suns played a game on Easter Sunday, game 1 of the playoffs. And you're in your Easter mood, and I'm just sitting here. I'm like, man, I want to do something. I want to do a little more. I was thinking about doing some, donation to the food bank, and it just dawned on me. I said, today's Easter. The Suns are playing on Easter, man. Let's include the Suns here. I thought the win margin would be cool. I thought it would give people a better range of how to get involved, and so we did it. And I was lucky enough to get in contact with the guys over at the great people over at St. Mary's Food Bank, and we put together an idea. And yes, the Suns margin of victory win drive. Suns win by 6, donate $6. They win by 2, you donate $2. Or you can do what some people have been doing, and you can donate at the end of the series. You can tally it up and donate at the end of the series. And the idea is here to feed as many people as possible, man, during this special championship run. Let's be champions on the court and off the court with the best fans in the world. So let's do that. So anybody get the links on Twitter if you want to get involved. Let's go. Let's feed as many people as possible. And my prediction for the win margin is 43.
43.
Plus 43 at the end of the series. The Suns are going to win plus 43.
All right, man. Okay, we have been going long, and we're just now getting to the true false section. So we're going to try to go fast through this. We're at 48 minutes already. Thank you all for joining in. I want you guys to vote in the chat. Hey, Perplex. Okay, Perplex, fine. We'll take another break because Perplex just gave us a quick donation.
Yes.
But the only players in the draft that have been in a finals appearance in the 2018 draft is Mikal and DA. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's move on to the true false. Thank you so much, Perplex. Brandon, Zona. I want you to run the true false today. Take us through your questions, and folks in the chat, place your votes, and I'll share the votes with the listeners. Go ahead.
All right, let's do it. Number 1, true or false? The Jazz would have been a tougher matchup than Dallas for Phoenix. We'll start with Flex on this one.
Y'all gonna be surprised by this, but I think it's true. And I tell you why. I was looking at that entire series. I recorded every game of Utah, Dallas, watched the whole series, and I'm gonna tell you what. Although Luka's a problem, the Pelicans presented a problem to the Suns with the two bigs, with the scrappy defenders, with the guys off the bench, the dynamic scorers, stuff of that nature. And you look at Utah, you look at Rudy, you look at Whiteside, you look at a guy like Clarkston, you look at the fact that Donovan Mitchell's still Donovan Mitchell, and Bogdanovich, and a pesky guy like Conley. So I'm looking at that and I'm saying it's going to feel good to go into a series where the Suns should win the rebounding battles, no problem, against Dallas. I believe that. Yeah. And so because of that, I didn't want to go into a series with Utah feeling like we had to face some of the same dynamics, and maybe they could take some of the little cheat sheet stuff from the Pelicans and try to duplicate it. Although I don't think they would have been so successful. So yes, short answer, true. I think the Jazz would have been a tougher matchup, and I like the Mavs matchup.
Okay, I'm going to go short on this answer. First of all, it's really a in the voting in the chat, we're about 50-50 true falses. I think the Jazz and the Dallas are fairly equally talented. They would have been different matchups. I actually think Dallas is a tougher matchup than the Jazz because, frankly, as far as the series, the Jazz are broken, man. They don't know how to close games. They turn on each other. They shut each other out. Mountain Time Monte, I love that. Would have gotten his points, but they would have been on low efficiency. I really do think that Dallas will be a tougher matchup. But I also think, just like a year ago, the Suns are going to look better in round 2 than they did in round 1, just like a year ago. Either way, it didn't matter which team they were going to play against. There are so many different dynamics in this series. I think Suns are still going to win this one in 6 or fewer. But we'll do predictions in a little bit. What do you think, Brandon?
I'm going to say true as well. I agree with Flex. I think the Mavs are a better team, but I think the Jazz, just purely matchup based, would give the Suns more issues. I feel really good about the series, so that's where I stand with this. I think the Suns match up really well with Dallas, and the Jazz just hot 3-point shooting and just the way they play. Like I could see a lot of nights where maybe they get hot and torch the Suns, and that crowd in Utah is a tough place to play. So I'm going to give the Jazz an edge there, but I do think the Mavs are the better team, if that makes sense.
Great.
But also, I'll throw this one out here. It's not on the sheet, but would you guys rather face the Pelicans again or Dallas?
Dallas. And Perplex put a comment in the chat. The Pelicans would have beaten Utah. I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Hell yeah. Hey, guys, can I say something real quick? I think the Pelicans are going to be, aside from who we play in the finals, I think the Pelicans are going to present the most problems the Suns are going to face this playoffs. I just don't see another team that has those type of guys, those dynamics, that perfect situation, even with Willie, right? Even the Willie thing is part of it. I felt like when we got through this series, I made a call to one of my close guys with the Suns, and I said, "Hey, we're going to the championship, man. This was the matchup we needed to get started. I think we see the rest of the real Suns the rest of the way, and the matchups become a little more favorable."
Yeah, there's some comments in the chat that Luka can go off in any game.
He could.
That's the difference. Absolutely.
Yeah.
He could score 45 points and the Suns could still win because it all depends on everybody else around Luka. Okay, next true false question.
All right, true or false? Devin Booker will average more points per game than Luka in this series. We'll start with Dave on this one.
Wow. I'm going to say false. I'm going to say Luka is going to go nuts in this series, and the Suns are still going to win in 5 or 6 is my guess. But, man, Booker's going to be on a roll here. So I don't know. It's going to be tight. They're both going to be 28 plus. So, they're both going to be 28 plus points. It'll be really close.
Yeah, I say false. I say false because Devin's too smart to feed into that game. He has a better team. He's got a better system. Luka's playing with 7 dudes, and Booker's playing with 9 or 10. And that's the difference. Luka's not going to be able to share the ball as much. The rotations are smaller. They depend on him to do too much. And Book's just not like that. Book's going to come out and he'll happily get his 20 and the Suns win by 15 if that's the way the game plays out. So that's a false. I don't think Book's going to average more than Luka. And I think it's going to be by design.
Brandon.
Yeah, I know. I echo that. Totally agree. I think Dallas is going to need Luka to score 40 plus, for them to have a chance every night. Whereas Booker, he can get 30 and, the Suns are rolling. So I'm going to go false as well. And that brings us to our next question. If the Suns get past Dallas, the Warriors are the team that you do not want to face next round. True or false? Flex. We'll start with you.
False. I want the Warriors. I've been saying this all year, man. I know people get scared because of in-season matchups and the way things played out, but I've also watched a hell of a lot of Memphis playoff games. And listen, you see that team, why they come back every night. They're different dogs, and they present a lot of similar problems that the Pelicans presented. I mean, these guys, there's just a lot of lanky, athletic, streaky guys. They share the ball. You don't know who to key up on. So I think the Memphis Golden State, well, I'll say exactly what you guys said earlier. Golden State is the better team. Memphis is the tougher matchup for the Suns. So I'm going to go with and styles make fights in the playoffs. I'll take the better team if it gives us a slightly better matchup. I want Golden State.
I 100% agree with Flex on this one. Memphis would just be Pelicans' super team.
Yeah.
However, the Suns are much better because if Booker plays the entire series. So I still think the Suns will win the series, but they're more likely to lose, I think, to the Grizzlies than they are to the Warriors. I just do. Look, man, let me go off on the Warriors just for a second. They couldn't even sweep the Nuggets. The Suns swept a better Nuggets team a year ago by an average of 15 points a game. This new Deadpool lineup, death lineup for the Warriors, they didn't even get 100 points in the last game against the Nuggets. And the Nuggets, y'all know, cannot play defense at all. When Will Barton, because I'm sorry for Nuggets fans, man, they're without Jamal Murray, without Michael Porter Jr. Will Barton's your second best player. You're not going to win a playoff series. You're lucky to win a game. And they still won a game against the Warriors. So I'm not as worried about the Warriors.
And we're competitive.
In fact, they're unlikely. Games. I don't think they're likely to beat Memphis because while Memphis, it was so funny. I was watching one of those Minnesota-Memphis games in the media room before Suns game last week, game 5, I think it was. And we were just commenting on how Memphis and Minnesota were like feeding on each other's dumbest, tendencies because they were just going weird ass shot to weird ass shot to weird ass shot, all this weird stuff going on. And they were feeding on each other's. Yeah. It was like pickup ball. It was like, playing at the Y, but that's because they were feeding on each other. Like they didn't have, I really think Memphis playing against a super smart team in Golden State is going to play smarter.
I agree.
And better than they did against Minnesota. I think Memphis is going to look better against Golden State than they did against Minnesota. And I really feel like the Suns are going to end up facing Memphis in the conference finals. And that's going to suck because Memphis is a tougher matchup. What do you say, Zona?
Yeah, real quick, just to go back to your point on the whole Denver Golden State thing. I found it very funny that after 3 games, they're, crowning the Warriors, like coming up with all these nicknames, the vaunted lineup where the Suns, completely dominated Denver last year and people were calling the Suns lucky and frauds after that. It's just funny how the narrative.
Yeah. What happened to the lucky and frauds part, right?
Yeah. So it's just a different, different sides of the coin as far as media, but we're used to that around here. So, I do think the Grizzlies and Warriors, I think it's going to go 7 games. I think it's going to be an awesome series. If I had to pick who I'd rather face, I think I would take Memphis just due to the lack of experience. It's a coin toss for me. I hear you guys' points, but I think when it comes down to late game execution, the Grizzlies just have jaw. The Suns have 2 closers. That's, to me, the Warriors, they have so many shot creators that I feel like a lot more variance could happen where on any given night, Poole or Steph or Clay could get hot and then, you're done. So to me, the Grizzlies, they're more disciplined. They're more balance, I think, in terms of how they can match up with the Suns' size. But I don't know. There's something about the Warriors with their experience that I think I would take Memphis.
Two quick comments in the chat. One, Buck Dog, I'm just glad we only have to play one of them. Here. Totally agree. And that's why the Suns fought for the number 1 seed, so that they wouldn't have to play both those teams. And then Thomas Herndon in the chat, Ja will lay a body on Steph the whole series. I'm not sure if he means defensively, because Ja does not play defense. Maybe he means Ja will lay a body on Steph by dunking on him. Sure.
Oh yeah, that's probably what he means.
That's probably what he means, but definitely not defensively, because that's what Memphis is going to have a hard time containing the Warriors, because Ja won't play and they'll just hunt probably.
I'm gonna tell you two guys in that Golden State Memphis series, man, that people got to start paying attention to. Desmond Bane is going to be a star, guys. That kid is absolutely terrific. He was the best player in this first round, not Ja Morant. So that kid is different. And then, as much as I don't like this guy's going to cause Dylan Brooks just gets into people. I know. And we know how that matchup always plays out with him and Brooks.
Dylan Brooks is a 6'5" version of Jose Alvarado.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. And this is what people might be, people may be overlooking, man. And then you got Jaren Jackson, who's dynamic with the 3. He can get you some buckets low. It's just a weird dynamic. They just remind me a lot of the Pelicans. But I think Golden State's in for a surprise, man. They're gonna clamp up on some of them dudes. It's gonna be a good series. But I'm with you, Zona, man. It's going 7 regardless. This is
final thought on Memphis. Number 4 pick in that draft, Jaren Jackson Jr. Got a lot of late season recognition for being, he should be Defensive Player of the Year. He's been so great. He's been so wonderful. He's awesome. How many times does he foul out or have 5 fouls early in the fourth quarter against the Warriors? How many times out of, let's say they have a 6-game series. What do you say, Flex? How many times is he going to be in foul trouble?
7-game series or 7-game series?
Let's just say 7. How many times?
7-game series, he'll be in trouble 4 games at least.
Zona. How many games is he going to be in foul trouble?
7.
7. I say the
Warriors.
same.
I think the Warriors are so good at, taking advantage of things like that they're going to expose him in that way and kind of bait him.
I'll never forget him having 5 fouls with 6 to 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter the other night, and he decides to contest a fallback 3.
Yeah, that was stupid.
That was
a lot like Karl Towns. Karl Towns did the same damn thing all series.
We'll talk about the Karl Anthony Towns, DeAndre Ayton thing later. But anyway, not today. Let's go to your next true false, Brandon.
All right, next one. I'll kind of change the wording on this a little bit. But outside of Luka and Brunson, who is the next Mavericks player that you're most worried about? We'll start with
outside of Luka and Brunson.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna give Flex the one I think he's gonna pick. But really, the guy I'm most worried about is Dinwiddie. I think Spencer Dinwiddie is hot and cold. The guy's a career 30% 3-point shooter, but he made 40%, I believe, in the first round. He's been good since he joined the Mavs. He's a guy who's a wild card, and I think if the Suns cannot contain him, that's going to make it a much tougher series. Flex.
I'm going with what I said earlier, man. I mean, I'm just looking at Maxi Kleber, bro. I think he's the key to the series. I really do. I think he's Maxi Kleber that we know he is. Suns beat these guys in 5. He's Maxi Kleber that people turn into when they play the Suns. Might go 6. That's just how I see it.
1920s Buffalo guy says, DFS. Dorian Finney-Smith. Here's the thing. Dorian Finney-Smith this year is like Mikal a year ago, where he's only threes and open 3, catch and shoot threes, and then plays defense the whole game. That doesn't win you a series, just like Mikal didn't win the Suns any series a year ago, and he didn't win them the first round this year. Even the better Mikal didn't win him in the first round. He won one. He did help them win game 5, which was absolutely necessary for sure. But Dorian Finney-Smith is like last year's Mikal. I don't think he's the difference maker in this series. Flex, yes. If Maxi Kleber makes 4 threes a game or averages 45% on threes in this series, the Suns are going to have a much tougher time. Zona.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they have a lot of players like that too, like Bullock and Finney-Smith and Kleber. Even Bertans, if he gets in there.
Yeah, Bertans. That's a guy, man. Bertans,
But he doesn't play.
I don't know why, but he will against the Suns. You watch.
Well, then CP3 will target him on defense.
That's true.
He'll be the pigeon.
Yeah, so I don't know. They have a lot of guys that can shoot, but I think Dinwiddie's one guy that kind of worries me. It seems like I don't have the numbers to back this up, but every time he plays the Suns, it seems like he takes it up another gear. So, that's the one that probably concerns me the most. And the Suns have had trouble sometimes guarding those 2-guard lineups. So if they go with like Luka, Brunson, and Dinwiddie, that could cause some issues on defensively for the Suns. So that's my pick with that. And going back to what Flex said earlier, just like with if Maxey gets hot and makes threes, like he's kind of their difference maker. The Suns have a couple of those guys with Crowder and Payne this year. If those two can get going, then I can see Mavs fans just rolling their eyes at them making threes, because those are like dagger threes when those guys get hot. So
Fabio with my favorite comment so far of the day. Who's the worst? Who's the worst? Yeah, Igor Kokoshkov, because he knows how to make the Suns lose lots of games.
Igor's got some inside information on this basketball team because he coached one dude on this basketball team, so he be in trouble. I mean, how many? Actually, I don't even know what the answer is. I'm guessing there, but Igor didn't coach too many of these guys.
No. He coached Book. I mean, wasn't he the coach with Book and DA and McKell?
Yeah, rookie DA and McKell.
Oh, it was rookie DA and McKell. Okay, so
that doesn't count.
When they had 17-game losing streak and another 8-game losing streak and a 10-game. Yeah, that was Igor. All right, next true false, Brandon.
All right, true or false? Devin Booker should play limited minutes to start the series. Start with Flex on this one.
False. He's ready. The kid's ready. He feels great. He's chomping at the bit. Book is ready to go. No limited minutes for Book. Put Killer Book out there. Let's get to the conference finals.
Love it.
MT in the chat. Dallas mascot behind the hoop. That's what I fear. Folks, y'all need to remember when Devin Booker had that moment of pushing getting the mascot out, turn on map, he made 2 of 3 free throws to give the Suns the lead to win the game. I mean, he made both free throws, 2 of 2 free throws.
Yeah.
To help the Suns win the game in that moment. So the mascot didn't hurt Book. They did get into his head a little bit. All right. So we've got I vote that no, he's not on limited minutes. People are worried that he should sit out, blah, blah, blah. Well, you're assuming he's still got a hamstring injury that he's not disclosing. He's done resting, as Buck Dog says. He's gonna play. So it's time. He's back. Zona, what do you think? Should he go on limited minutes?
Well, before hearing the flex bomb earlier today, just about his status, I might have said maybe, but now I think if he's good to go, then there's no reason to hold back now. This is what you rest for. This is what you set that extra game out for. So
now, before people try to keep this in their memory and dunk on Flex again or any of us, Booker can always re-pull the hamstring. All we know right now is that he feels great. And he's not going to hold back. Yeah. That doesn't mean he's impervious to injuries again.
Facts. Yep. Thanks for clearing that up, man.
They're going to say, Flex lied. No. Yeah. In the moment, he feels great. That's all that matters. Okay, what's your next true false?
All right, next one. The Bucks are still the team that will pose the biggest problem in the East. True or false? Dave, we'll let you start.
I always worry about the Bucks because they know exactly how to beat the Suns. They did it. The Suns are better this year, but the Suns have not proven that they can beat the Bucks when the Bucks are at their best. They just haven't. Now, Chris Middleton, he's got to be healthy though, because he's the one who actually made all those big fourth quarter shots in those closeout games. But the Bucks with a healthy Middleton are still the team that I fear the most. How about you, Flex?
True. But you know what's crazy about this, man? That's a great question, Zona. So it is true, but although it's true, that's who I want. It's a weird thing, but that's who I want. Because I also think the familiarity with them is good for us. Like, I think we know we let one slide last year. And I think this team, you see what happens when you get FJ Crowder shirts or you talk to this team or you do something bad to this team or you piss this team off. You see what happens, right? They usually don't let you slide. So I think the Suns have been sitting with this Bucks thing, since last year. And although I do think they present the biggest problems because they got those players, I do think that that's the matchup they want, and I think I want it. And I'll throw Boston in there as kind of a little wild card.
Yeah, that's true. Boston's the unknown.
Yeah, Boston's
And
a wild card.
they are built to beat anybody
They sure are.
in the league for sure.
I think Miami
But the
too.
ones I know
Don't sleep on
Miami too.
They're tough.
Miami too, man.
But the Suns can beat Miami.
And
'cause they can
Spoelstra's
stretch 'em out.
incredible. Spoelstra's incredible,
Yeah.
man. I don't want to be in a series against that guy. Can I get your hot take? Can I just get a quick hot take?
Let's hear it.
Whoever wins this Boston series is playing the Suns in the finals. That's going to be the finals. The winner of that series will play the Suns in the finals. I don't know how.
Is it Celtics Bucks?
Yeah.
No, who is it? I'm sorry, I forgot the matchup. Is it Celtics Bucks?
Yeah. Yep. Celtics Bucks second round. Winner of that round is going to play the Suns in the finals. I think those are the best two teams in the East. But Miami's dangerous, brother. So I'm with you. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Forget everything I just said, bro.
Yeah, I know, man. They're all dangerous. And the Suns, luckily, the Suns only have to play one of Golden State and Memphis, and only one of those East teams for sure.
Yeah.
So, but it's going to be tough. The whole playoffs are going to be tough going forward. All right. So next, true, false. Zona.
All right. Next up, DeAndre Ayton will average more than 20 points per game this series. Start with Dave on this one.
He averaged 20.5 in the first series. Dallas does not have any real bigs that can stop him from his scoring spots. They don't play. They just don't have the kind of guys who can keep Ayton from scoring when Chris Paul gets him the ball. The only reason he would not score 20 points a game in this series is if everyone else is scoring too easily and they don't need Ayton as an outlet, because Ayton is not the primary option out after the first quarter and a half. Because what the Suns do intentionally, and they've been doing for 2 years, and people just seem to think it's not intentional, but it is. They feed Ayton in the first 2 quarters just to force the other team to adjust their pick and roll defense so that Chris Paul and Devin Booker can eat whatever they want to eat the rest of the game. That's just the way it is. And then when you try to take away all 3 of those guys, then the corners open up, or open corner threes. That's the whole tenet of the Suns offense. What that means is Ayton does not get a lot of second half touches, but he doesn't mind. He sets the picks. He gets guys open because he knows the pick and roll defense has adjusted. So if the Suns are going to win in 5, Ayton scores less than 20 points a game. If the Suns, it goes to 7, that means it's been harder for them, and he's more likely to have scored 20 points a game. So, man, what's my final answer? My final answer is false. My final answer is false. He's not going to get 20 points a game in this series because the Suns are going to do so well offensively. Flex?
Yeah, I agree with you. False. I think we're going to see the Phoenix Suns that we know in this series, and you're going to start seeing Jay Crowder hit shots, Cam Johnson hit shots, Campaign hit shots. Ball's going to move around a little bit more. I think the fact that they're going to try to, Ayton's going to expose them in the paint, and they're going to have to rotate, and they're going to have to shift. And Ayton's the best guy, one of the better guys in the league at the center spot, who's willing to pass out of that to his open guys. He's just fantastic at it. So I think he does a lot of that. I think he falls just below. I think the Suns win this series. Hopefully, I'm going to say Suns in 6, man, just to be humble. Suns in 6, and I think Ayton goes slightly below that number, somewhere closer to 17 and a half, something like that.
Zona.
Why not? I'll go true here. I think this will be one of his best series. Maybe it doesn't show up, with the points, but I think just from a matchup standpoint, he has a chance to really have his hands all over this game on both ends. So I'll go true. But I think it'll be kind of in the 18 to 22-ish range, somewhere around there.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So we've got 2 out of 3. Now, folks in the chat have not made too many comments. Who's going to stop DeAndre, Kleba, Powell, Boban? Oh, hey, question for you guys. Does DeAndre Ayton screw up the Mavs so much that they have to play Boban?
Yeah.
I could see it. Yeah. It was a desperation type game 3.
And then our fans are going to freak out because Boban does JaVale McGee stuff, whereas he'll play 7 minutes. He'll get 10 points and 10 rebounds.
I love
and
Boban.
People will flip.
Boban's going to play this series, guys. I promise you 1,000%. I book it, bro. He's playing this series.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for the true false section. Thank you so much for folks in the chat. You guys are all still here. Over 200 people right now in this chat. I appreciate you. Let's do our round table of predictions. Folks in the chat vote as well. You know how I'd like to do it, though. I don't want the whole series because so many things can happen in a series. I want you to only pick the first 3 games. First 3 games. We'll be back here next Saturday. First 3 games. What do you think the Suns' record? The record is going to be in the series after 3 games. Flex, you first.
2-1.
2-1 who?
2-1 Phoenix. We'll be
2-1
talking
Phoenix.
this Saturday. 2-1 Phoenix. Yeah. I'm not going to give you the breakdown, but yeah, 2-1 Phoenix.
2-1 Phoenix. Brandon.
Right there with you. 2-1 Suns. Since I can't spoil the rest of my picks, I'll just hold that in, but it's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really think Perplex is 3-0. Coach Fallen Founders 3-0. Bees is Mavs in Cancun. Well, you got to go 4 games anyway. You got Low Suns, 3-0 Suns. We got a lot of Suns fans in this chat. Shocking. But definitely we got some 2-1 votes. Mavs, Eric Guerrero picks Mavs 3-0. I feel like Eric is joining because Kirk was on earlier, but that's okay. Look, man, can the Mavs take a 2-1? What's it going to take? Because I'm also a 2-1, 3-0 guy. What's it going to take for the Mavs to have a 2-1 lead after 3 games, not talking injury? Take injury out of the conversation. What's it going to take for the Mavs to have a 2-1 lead after 3 games? Flex.
Two more guys besides Luka Doncic having just incredible games. I mean, listen. This is what I'm going to say. Luka's getting 35. Guys.
Scott Foster twice.
No, that's facts. That's facts. That's facts. I'm going to tell you real quick how I view these series and these matchups. This is what I do, and this is just the coach in me, right? I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, I know the magic number for my Phoenix Suns is 110. That's the magic number. That's the number I go into saying if you don't score 110, you're going to lose. The Suns are better than you. And so I look and I say, okay, I'm going to give Luka 40. Now you got 6 guys that got to get 70 points. How you figure that out? So what I'm saying is the way to answer your question, if Luka gets 35 and you got to get 75 points from, you're going to have to get 25 plus from 2 other guys. I'll give Brunson that. Who's the other guy? And that's what the Suns are great at. The Suns are great at saying, we'll give 1 or 2 of your guys. You're not going to go absolutely bonkers on us, though. And I think Ingram and CJ prepared us for this type of matchup. Go ahead and go get 30 each and find the other 60. 78. That's what it comes down to. So, yeah, it's going to take 3 really good performances for them to be up 2-1.
Yeah. So my take is you're going to have Maxi Kleber hitting 8 threes. You're going to have to have something crazy like that for the Mavs to have a 2-1 lead. Can it happen? Sure. It happened to Utah. The Mavs took a 2-1 lead without Luka. But the Mavs were at home 2 of those 3 games. The Mavs are only at home 1 of the 3 games against Phoenix. The Suns have won every first game of a series, but they've lost the second game a couple of times. So they were 2-0 against the Bucks. They were 2-0 against the Clippers. They were with that Valley oop. But they lost the second game in the first round a year ago. They were 2-0 against Denver as well. And they lost the second game in the first round against the Pelicans this year. So I really do think that the Suns are going to win game 1. Game 2 will be possibly hero ball from Dallas that works. If they do win game 2, the Suns are going to win game 3. How can Dallas win games 2 and 3? Is if they go nuts, if they go basically out of their minds for a couple of games, because the Suns are really going to be locking in. They're not going to want to lose 2 in a row after winning game 1. If the Mavs somehow win game 1, that'll just knock the Suns back on 2. Yeah, we are very confident, Leonardo, because we are Suns fans. If you went on a Jazz or on a Dallas pod, guess what? They'd be pretty confident too. So I think it's going to be tough. Now it doesn't mean the Mavs won't win later games. That's what the Bucks did. The Bucks went down 2-0 and ended up winning the series. Okay. The Pelicans lost the first 2 and ended up, winning game 4. And all of a sudden it was a tough series. I'm just saying the first 3 games, this is why the Suns played so hard this regular season, so that they could get home court advantage for 2 of the first 3 games. And we're only talking about the 3 games in between podcasts. So I say the Suns are going to go up 2-1. If the Mavericks are going to be up 2-1, it's going to take really crazy games, multiple games in a row. That's what it's going to take. Mavs do not have the better defense than the Suns. I don't know what you guys are smoking. Sorry, 1920s.
I'm reading these chat. Listen, guys, man. Here's the number of the series. We said it. We've been talking about it for over an hour here. 7, guys. 7. You're not gonna beat the Suns with a 7-man rotation, guys. You're just not. There's just you. I don't think you're gonna be physically.
Oh, there's
capable.
another guy. If Davis Bertans comes in and plays 10 minutes and makes 4 threes, that's another potential problem for
that's
the
what
Suns.
Zona said. Zona said that earlier. Davis Bertans can come in and do some damage, but
that's
that's what it's going to take. It's going to take 8, 9 guys, not 7. Not 7.
Man, Mavs fans are so drunk on playing good defense this second half. The Mavs were actually only I had the numbers, but they were top 15 on defense since they went 20-7 since the trades. Suns were top 3. So you can say the Mavs have better defense, but it's only better defense compared to what you've seen in the past. 2 totally different things. Yeah. All right. So who do the Suns have wins? Who do the Suns have on defense? I don't even want to have to get into it. LOL. No, the Mavs are not top 5 on defense since the trade that got them their current team. No, they're not.
Of course, we're going to be confident. I mean, this is a 64-win team that has had Dallas's number for years now, and it's to me, a favorable matchup. So, I mean, I don't understand why the Mavs fans are getting upset, but I think
they're allowed to. It's totally fine. Be upset. It's totally good. Everyone gets upset. The Pelicans thought they could win too. It happens.
Yeah, and I mean, it kind of reminds me of the Denver series last year where, substitute Luka for Jokic, and just some of the takes that they're popping off after they took down Portland, a very bad Portland team.
Yeah.
So I
remember
the Suns are not the Jazz.
HP paroxysm after Denver took down Portland in the first round, predicted that they could beat the Suns in the second round.
Charles Barkley did it live on TNT. He said, "I got Denver. Denver's gonna beat Phoenix." It's comical stuff, man. It's comical stuff.
The Suns are not the Jazz. The Mavs are going to find that out very soon. So
the Suns are not the Jazz. Devin Booker is not Donovan Mitchell. DeAndre Ayton is not Rudy Gobert. And damn it, and damn it, there's no one on that Jazz team like Mikal Bridges. I mean, we can go on and on, man. But let's get it going. This is fun. Talk some trash. Let's get it going. Monday can't come quick enough. Let's go, Suns. This what we want.
Oh,
it's what we want.
I do stand corrected. I do apologize. Sorry for the folks in the chat. The Dallas defense was 5th in the league since that trade. So I apologize. Dallas defense is 5th in the league since the trade. But still, the Suns have the better defense overall for the season. Okay.
And that's the thing. We didn't make a trade, Dave. We've been 3 all year. Like y'all, they're saying we're 5 cents a date. Like, who did you play in that date? Like, let's keep things in perspective here. I don't subscribe to that. Like, who the hell did you play? What players didn't play for them? How does that range into your defensive? The Suns have been good all year, not since the trade. How about that?
Yeah, like March and April, those months, there's a lot of fluky stuff that happens. So
teams tanking, making stupid trades and blowing things
we'll
up.
See. It doesn't even matter what these teams were the regular season anyway. We're going to see what they're going to be the next 7 games. Mm-hmm. So let's just see. All right, folks, thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate you staying. Flex, sorry, it's another hour and a half off your day.
Guys. Love it. We good.
We had a great time today. Thank you so much. And we'll check in with you all later. Appreciate your time. Oh, wait, really quick. Zona, where can we find you around the web?
At ZonaHoops_ on Twitter, brightsideofthesun.com, and ZonaHoops.com.
Flex, where do we find you?
At Flex from Jersey, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, 98.7 post-game show with my boy John Bloom. And right here when y'all want me.
Right on. I'm Dave King. You can find me at Dave King NBA on Twitter. Find my writing at brightsideofthesun.com. And we'll check you guys all out next week. Thanks.